name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Assalamu alaikum. That means peace be unto you. Welcome to Liberated Sisters, broadcasting live at Morris Media Studios. Also available on my Facebook page, Charlene Muhammad. And Liberated Sister, I want to build that platform. But thank you for joining us today. We are commemorating the 25th anniversary of the historic unprecedented Million Man March. Before we get to the Million Man March, the feedback line, which we will be coming right out of the Final Call newspaper, I want to advise you now, if you don't have a digital subscription, please go to finalcalldigital.com. Pardon me, it's digital finalcall.com and subscribe. And if you do have a subscription, I want you to go to that now. We're going to be coming out of the final call today. But before we do that, we're going to have the COVID report with Angela Birdsong. Preceding her is the Justice Report. We'll be featuring soon Cephas, Uncle Bobby X. Johnson, Oakland-based activist. Here's the Justice Report. Today's Justice Report, a glimpse of heaven, the Million Man March. We are commemorating the 25th anniversary. Finalcall.com, finalcall.com, digital final call. Let's just leave that if we could and let the viewers see that. I mean, a glimpse of heaven, the Million Man March. The coverage begins on page 2, and I'll run through a little bit. Great job, Final Call. Great job on it. To God be the glory. This is a day that the Lord has made. You know, the black man was under so much, and still is, but prior to that was just under so much. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called for black men to come to Washington, D.C., or go rather, and we'll get into that later on in the feedback line. But Brother Michael Z. Muhammad kicks it off with Long Live the Spirit and Purpose of the Million Man March. The story behind an historic day in black history follows him, Brian E. Muhammad, our writer out of South Carolina, and then Sister Nisa Islam Muhammad, our staff writer out of D.C. and Maryland, talks about a sisterhood of service, which was key to a glorious day. You know, there's a lot of chatter and murmuring about women and the exclusion, but I beg your pardon, as Minister Ava Muhammad likes to say, trust and believe that is not the case. And but for women as well, we would not have seen the success. But of course, it all stemmed from the mind of a man. You can't get around it. You know, I don't want to really say it, but you could die in your rage because this was successful and the women were indeed involved. Sister Anisa Muhammad, our young, beautiful, talented, contributing writer in the South, she writes how black women supported men and the roles of women at the Million Man March. Let's continue. Brother Turi Muhammad, contributing writer in Chicago, More Than a Million Man March. I'm just giving you some of these headlines before we get to the COVID report, because we're going to go deeper into the Million Man March and we're going to hear words from the man himself on his reflection and why he called for the march. So let me just continue to tell you what's in the final call. And if you don't have a subscription, you're missing it. 25 years later, the march still has an impact. This is a story by our editor-in-chief, Brother Naba Muhammad, combined with Michael Z, J.A. Salam, Tarika Shakira, and Brother Turi as well. Moving on, continuing a movement like none other. Another article and photographs highlight how people mobilized across the country. It features a list of Million Man March endorsers. Oh, the photographs are just phenomenal. Wow. I'm getting overwhelmed. This is my first time seeing the digital today, which it just came out recently, but you see Brother Stevie Wonder. I'm sorry I'm not showing you these pictures. I encourage you to subscribe. You can see these images right now. Brother Jim Brown, NFL legend, Dr. Aleem Muhammad, Sheikh Tajani, brother formerly Richard, now Naba. So there's words from our former editor, who's now our contributing editor, James G. Muhammad. Words need not be spoken, and it is a visual of more than a million black men on the mall in D.C. Brother Dr. Benjamin Chavis has a portion where he talks about the belief and tenacity, key ingredients of the Million Man March. Portion meaning column. And of course, we have the editorial, which is a lesson from the Million Man March. And there's much, much more. Brother Demetric Muhammad out of Memphis talks about how, against all odds, Allah God empowers Minister Farrakhan and the Million Man March. Were you there? Were you there at the Million Man March? Did you send anyone, sister, to the Million Man March? Were you a toddler there, hand in hand with your father? What is your experience? We would like to hear from you in the chat. But now table this and continue with the Justice Report. Come behind that with the COVID report, what's happening with coronavirus, and then we will go right into the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's words himself. So let's see if we can bring in, see if it's Uncle Bobby X Johnson, uncle of Oscar Grant III. I want to come in with some news out of Oakland that is really very impactful. Is Uncle Bobby, are you there? Oh, Uncle Bobby is not on. So we're going to keep the ball rolling. What Uncle Bobby was going to share, and so since he's not going to be with us to talk to it, I'll just announce it here. But Google, the news is there. The Oscar Grant Coalition and Alameda County, they have petitioned and were successful in getting the case of the murder of Oscar Grant reopened. And Officer Tony Peroni, who was accused of igniting tensions right from the start and creating a scenario, according to the Grant family and their attorneys, whereby Oscar could be killed on New Year's Day in 2009. Similarly, they are charging to George Floyd in Minneapolis. They say, but for Tony Peroni's actions, Oscar might still be alive. And so the case has been reopened, and we're going to come back and follow that. But I know Uncle Bobby's super busy, and so something may have gone on where he could not be with us. But we're going to go on to the COVID report, and after that, we'll come back to the 1995 Million Man March.
The United States labor force is increasingly moving towards the gig economy. More than 1/3 of workers in the U.S., overwhelmingly people of color and first-generation immigrants, participate in the informal labor force, working long hours for low, inconsistent wages and no benefits. California voters will weigh in on the gig economy via Proposition 22 on the November ballot, which seeks to keep app-based drivers as independent contractors rather than employees. Ethnic Media Services experts discuss Proposition 22 and the impact of the COVID pandemic. Dr. Veena Dubal, law professor at the University of California, Hastings School of Law, an ardent opponent of Proposition 22, explains the negative impact of this state measure on some drivers.
Large percentage of the Uber and Lyft drivers are Latino. They are workers who are already on the margins of the labor market. This would effectively create lower labor standards for low-income immigrant, including Latino workers, than it does for all other workers in California.
Dr. Dubal further explains two critical points about Proposition 22.
This ensures that drivers will only get paid for engaged time, which is sometimes only 40 to 30% of the time they're driving. And it ensures that consumers will face a huge uphill battle, if not completely prevented from holding these companies liable if they're injured, raped, or otherwise abused while using the services.
Dr. Alexandria Ravenel, professor in sociology at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and the author of Hustle and Gig, warns the high number of unemployed Americans looking for work about predators in the pandemic.
Some of the scammers are using job application websites. And so they'll ask somebody to fill out job applications. In some cases, told that they have to fill out this credit report form, complete with Social Security, birthday, home address, and that they have to have their credit run. So they're obviously just doing this to steal people's identities.
Reporting for the Liberated Sisters COVID report, I'm Angela Birdsong.
Thank you, Angela. And it just so have it that Uncle Bobby is with us. Uncle Bobby? Assalamu alaikum. I think we have Uncle Bobby. Let's. Beep, beep, beep. Uncle Bobby, are you there? Well, I'll start talking about what's coming up after. Should we still have Uncle Bobby to talk about reopening the case, the killing of Oscar Grant? And did you subscribe yet to the Final Call? Do you have your digital Final Call with all of the images and all of the copy, the words on what's happening with the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March? The coverage begins on page 2 and it is nonstop. Great job by the Final Call. But I don't want to, Uncle Bobby, are you there? So we will come back next week, God willing, with Uncle Bobby.
Hello.
Okay, Uncle Bobby. Uncle Bobby. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh,
How
walaikum salam.
how are you doing, sir?
I am well, and yourself?
Good, good. So, Uncle Bobby, good to see you. I know you're busy. The time is a little condensed now because of some of the difficulty in getting you, but could you take 5 minutes, or take 10, and tell us what is happening with the reopening of the killing of your nephew? How did it come about, and what's the
Uh,
status right now?
right. If I can, I have to give a little backdrop to how we got here. Of
Sure.
course, in 2009, during the trial, David Steins, the district attorney that was representing the family concerning the murder of Oscar Grant, uh, decided to use Tony Peroni, the reason why we're here today, as state evidence against Johannes Mesley for the murder of Oscar Grant. Uh, of course, Tony Peroni flipped on us and never really testified against Johannes Mesley, and became such a hostile witness that the district attorney said to us, the family, that we would file charges against him after we complete this trial against Johannes Mesley. Of course, when the trial ended, as you know, we went to the district attorney head, Nancy O'Malley, and asked her about filing charges against Tony Peroni. At that time, she stated that because Alameda County had spent so much money going back and forth to LA, they didn't have the money to pursue charges against Tony Peroni at this time. Okay, so of course, that's 10 years ago. Of course, no action had been moved forward on that. In 2018, we supported Senator Skinner on a bill called SB 1421, the right to know, which gave us the right to ask for the investigative file of an officer that say had killed your loved one, which I did. Embedded in that file was the story, not the story, but the investigation behind Tony Peroni involved in the murder of Oscar Grant. And it cites the facts that not only did Tony Peroni knee Oscar, punch Oscar, called Oscar a bitch ass nigga 3 times, but also he put his knee on Oscar's neck, pushing his face through the concrete floor, cracking the bones in his face. Oscar saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Then Johannes Mesley stands up and shoots Oscar in the back. And as a result of that, if that had not happened, chances are Tony Peroni would have probably choked Oscar to death, just like what we saw happen to George Floyd. So in essence, what brought us here today is, of course, the investigative report that we just got in 2019. Embedded in that was the story of what I just shared about Tony Peroni. Also, George Floyd being murdered, and seeing how Officer Chauvin had his knee on George's neck was the same knee that was placed on Oscar's neck. So the pain of seeing that, the investigative report, and the promise that at this time we can't file charges, but we will later, prompt us to go ahead and start this campaign to have Tony Peroni charged for the murder of Oscar Grant. So that's where we're at today. Of course, during the press conference, the district attorney immediately stated that she will reopen the case to begin the investigation. They have a team of lawyers. They're going to take a look at the applicable laws at that time, whether statute of limitation has run out, and various other areas of law that will tell them whether they can file charges or hold him accountable for the murder of Oscar Grant. We're really believing that we should be able to get felony murder. There's no statute of limitations on murder. And so that's our pursuit today. Of course, we need the world and the community to be supportive. This officer needs to be held accountable. He was the reason why Oscar was murdered. As stated all in the report, he created the chaos and the madness on that platform and have escaped charges.
Wow. Thank you, Uncle Bobby. And give us your website so people can stay abreast of this.
Sure. So our website is www.lovenotbloodcampaign.org. Of course, I will be putting up as soon as I get a chance, the details of what we need, the support we need, and of course what's going on with the reinvestigation itself. And of course, tomorrow we're actually leaving town to go support the Breonna Taylor family. They made a call to see if we can come, and they would basically help this happen. And so we're actually on our way there. And so if there's a little delay in, getting everything updated on the website, is because of the importance of going to embrace that family.
That's right. Uncle Bobby, we certainly understand. And thank you, and thank your wife for always being there for Liberated Sister. And may God bless you with safe travels, okay?
Thank you, Sister Charlene. And definitely thanks to all the listeners. And, just be on the lookout, because we definitely will need your support, your prayers, and everything that you can do to help us make this a reality.
That's right. And our prayers with Breonna Taylor's family. Assalamu alaikum, Uncle Bobby.
Wa alaikum salam.
Man, that family is always, always, always on the front line, always there for families. And we pray that, the numbers of those joining those ranks may stop. But it's good to know that Allah has soldiers like that are willing to drop everything. And I've witnessed them drop everything and run to the aid. And so thanks again to the Love Not Blood campaign. And now we turn back to the Million Man March 25th anniversary. And it's me, you, and the minister. Me, you, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm going to read. If you have your Final Call digital subscription, join me. Check it out yourself. But who better, in the words of a great executive staff member of the minister, to have then the minister speak for himself about what, compelled him on why he called for the march. And so without any further delay, I'm just going to read that. I'm going to go right into the minister's words, and I pray you stay tuned and that you get your Final Call story. And I had announced beforehand that we were going to be coming with the Law of God Part 3, delivered by student minister Dr. Ava Muhammad, his national spokesperson. But you create and move, and so I was reminded that, wow, this weekend is the weekend of the march, and we have some announcements before we close out today for the 14th through the 16th, okay? So let's get into it. Actually, we'll be right back. Stay